how do you become a freight broker? Let's have a conversation about that. This is a pretty lucrative profession, but you got to know how to really how to get into this niche and how to actually cultivate relationships with customers. Okay, so let me first give you an overview before I give you the steps you need to follow to actually become a freight broker this year. First of all, let's clarify something. If you think about a freight broker, you are looking at a middleman, or let's say an intermediary between shippers and carriers. That's what a freight broker does. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but this is what they do. They're the middleman between the carrier and the shipper. And a freight broker actually help you as a shipper find reliable carriers to transport your goods while helping carriers locate cargo to transport. Okay, so what they do with brokers though is that they simplify shipment logistics by actually negotiating fees, coordinating shipments. So that's really good, coordinating shipments, and also ensuring smooth delivery. So if you go to a freight broker, you can actually think about experience, you can think about efficiency, you can think about reliability. So if you think about a freight broker, you have someone who matches shippers and carriers, negotiates rates, manages shipments, right? That's an important element to manage the shipment to make sure the goods are delivered intact. You also have a profession that helps build relationships, because a broker, like I said, has to, as the middleman between a carrier and a shipper, has to actually establish relationships with all corners of the industry. Okay, you have someone who can solve problems. Basically, brokers address issues like cargo damage, delays, and other issues. So that's really important. Okay, and you have you have you have carrier onboarding. So before you hire carriers as a shipper, you want to really go to a freight broker to vet them, to vet those shippers, to make sure they are legit. Okay, before doing business with them. And you also have a carrier monitoring. So they will monitor carriers throughout the freight life cycle to ensure the carrier's status remains in good standing. So a freight broker will actually check your FICO score, among other things. So if you think about how to become a freight broker, you have to really understand that there are distinct roles and qualifications depending on what you are really, what role you want to embrace. And remember, when you talk about a freight broker, you have a profession that's totally different from a freight agent. Okay, so freight brokers and freight agents are not the same thing. No, they do different things. So a freight broker has his or her own broker authority, license, and insurance, so that he or she can legally arrange freight movement. Because some freight processes require licensure, requires also authority, especially if a freight broker has to work on hazmats, for instance, or even let's say reefer. You want to have some kind of authority, okay? And you also have freight, so that's for freight brokers. If you think about a freight agent, basically this is someone who coordinates freight movements under a broker's operating authority. So you can see that a freight agent is actually lower in the hierarchy than a freight broker. And a freight agent works on commission based on the dollar value of freight contracts that he or she negotiates for brokers. By the way, brokers earn a salary plus a commission. So in terms of their payment structure, they have a salary and commission. Something to really think about. And if you want to become a freight agent, there are plenty of online resources to help you out. Just let me know. Also in the comment section, I'll certainly guide you to actually get your career actually started. And so a freight broker makes money primarily, okay, by connecting shippers and carriers, okay. And companies often post freight jobs to a load board. These platforms allow carriers to search for, bid on, and accept loads, okay. A freight broker makes money by helping you as a shipper find the right carrier at the right price. And this is called a load or freight matching. And as a shipper, you benefit by saving money on competitive marketplace rates and building relationships with brokers who consistently provide excellent service. Okay. So the more shipper clients a broker has and the more loads he or she is able to move, the greater the salary. Okay. The key here is to move as much freight as possible while keeping costs low and overhead low. Okay. So that's really good. And in terms of national average salary for a freight broker, you're looking at 62 all the way to 85K, depending on their location. And you also have a commission that goes from 15K all the way to 28K. So what are the steps you need to really keep in mind here? If you want to become a freight broker, you want to start with proper training. Okay, so everything starts with training. That's how you actually acquire the knowledge you need to really have to succeed on the freight broker job. So basically, you want to really maybe have experience as a freight or logistics professional. You can be a trucker, you can be a manager, you can be a dispatcher. Okay. So this is important to understand that you got to have a little knowledge of how the logistics industry actually functions. But if you lack experience, there are training programs for freight brokers available in the country. Once again, let me know where you are at, the city and states where you are at, and I can certainly direct you to the best resource for you. Okay. So basically, you can actually also reach out to online training class coordinators. Okay, so you can actually you can complete certifications within 3 to 6 months. I mean, sometimes 1 month too, depending on the kind of experience you have already. Okay, so once you actually start with proper training, once you have the theoretical knowledge actually down packed properly, set up your business. Here I'm speaking about making sure that you have actually a legit business, okay, an LLC, an S corporation, a C corporation with the proper name, a website. To see the thing is, you want to establish credibility. You want people to take you seriously. So you got to have a website. You got to have a normal business. You got to have a business bank account, okay, and you also got to make sure that you are actually thinking about how you market yourself to shippers and carriers, okay. So this is an important element. And then you need to apply for your freight broker authority because federal regulators, including the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, they actually handle authority regulations, and you gotta complete an application for Motor Property Carrier and Broker Authority. That's Form OP1, and this form is a requirement for becoming a licensed freight broker. And I really encourage you to become a licensed freight broker, by the way, okay? And you have to pay around $300. That's the application, but pretty necessary. If you want to become a freight broker, number one, you start with proper training, right? Acquire the theoretical foundation. Number two, set up your business, your S corporation, C corporation, LLC, whatever. Number three, apply for your freight broker authority. Number four, you want to select a process agent. So if you are a freight broker or you have a freight brokerage business, you must have a process agent in every state where you operate. Okay, process agent, remember that. So the process agent receives legal documents for the freight brokerage and legal proceedings, okay? And so process agent must provide a physical location instead of a PO box, so you can actually be sure that the authorities will double check your process agent, okay? And you can also find a list of agents on the FMCSA websites. So that's kind of cool because if you really have no idea, just go to the government website and it's available. You can also act as your own process agent in your state. You can also hire a salaried employee or use a process agent service. These agents charge fees for their service, okay? This is kind of similar to a registered agent service, like when you have an LLC or a corporation or a C corporation or S corporation, they want you to have a registered agent, right? This is kind of similar. A process agent is similar to a registered agent. So you also want to acquire a surety bond. So the federal government increased in 2013 the mandatory freight broker bond from 10 grand to $75,000. Okay. So based on personal credit and financial health, Bonds may cost as little as $750 per year. Brokers actually must pay the full premium upfront. And some bond companies offer financing for monthly surety bond payments. This is kind of cool. And your bond company will give you a Form BMC 84 for your for your freight broker surety bond. And you must submit this form to the FMCSA within 90 days of filing your OP1. So this is important. Next, you have to purchase insurance. You got to cover yourself. You got to cover your back, right? Because the freight broker industry is pretty is riddled with uncertainty, with risks, okay, with things that happen. So basically, most companies will not allow freight brokers to operate on their behalf without two things. So if you reach out to a company, either as somebody connecting shippers to brokers or vice versa, your clients will not actually agree to work with you if you don't have contingent cargo insurance and general liability insurance. They want you to have those two things. This is really important. So when I say contingent cargo insurance, basically what happens here is that in the case, let's say, in the case of lost or damaged cargo, with or without fault, this insurance, the contingent cargo insurance, protects freight industry professionals from financial losses, okay? That's for the contingent cargo insurance. You also have the general liability insurance, and this insurance covers a third-party property damage or insurance or injury claims. So this is something to really think about, okay? And so while the federal government doesn't require these coverages, they shield you from personal liability, okay? So this is kind of important. And also, you have to check state tax regulations also to sort of see what works and what doesn't work. So you must ensure that your company follows state regulations, including business registration requirements and taxes. So understand the records you need to keep and the filing requirements in your operating areas, okay? This is really important from a flexibility point of view. Also, you want to develop a business plan. So if you think about becoming a freight broker this year, develop a business plan, because a business plan is not just to get a loan or business line of credit, right? You want to clarify your vision for your business model. It's actually a pretty good GPS, sort of GPS for yourself too, okay? So basically, you want to explain to yourself and to other readers basically how you will manage the gap between money going out and money coming in. So we're speaking about cash inflows and cash outflows. Basically, how you will cover your startup equipment, insurance, and licensing costs. When and how you will repay any business loans that you actually get from from lenders, from credit unions or banks or alternative lenders, and how you will reach out also to your contacts or network from previous roles to build your business from scratch. This is so it's important for you to understand that a pretty solid business plan can help you sort of foresee whatever can happen in your business, okay? So when you develop a business plan, you also want to arrange financing if needed, okay? If you don't have, let's say, a necessary cash reserves, you can actually reach out for financing. Again, when it comes to financing, everything depends on your financial situation, depends on your credit score, depends on whether you want to apply with EIN or with your personal credit score, right? If your credit score is strong, you can apply with that, not a problem, okay? So, and when I say arranging financing, I'm talking about you reaching out to all kinds of lenders, not just financial, not just your traditional lenders like banks and credit unions. You're talking about all kinds of possibilities, okay? All kinds of possibilities in terms of, let's say, alternative lenders. Also, you have online lenders, you have credit unions, you have bonds, you have a lot of partners to reach out to, okay? And then you want to finalize your broker contract. So basically, here is where your experience or education can come in handy. Freight broker training courses often provide document kits that you can use to carry out your business. You actually must set up and maintain shipping and carrier contracts while keeping track of shipping records. Okay, and you want to have a lawyer review your forms and contract templates to ensure suitability for your freight broker company. And remember to keep proof of your qualifications. This is important from a flexibility point of view. If you want to really sort of position yourself properly, this is actually pretty good to really think about this year. Also, you want to find shipper and carrier clients. So if you want to become a freight broker, you have to find shipper and broker clients. Okay, and so if you have, let's say, this is where your experience will be important, because if you have previous industry experience, you may already have a list of potential clients, right? You know people from your previous jobs or your previous roles. I mean, whatever you had before. So if you don't have that, you got to start building relationships, because building relationships with shippers and carriers will cement your reputation as a reliable broker. And so most more contracts, if you think about it, more contracts mean more profits, really. Okay. So one thing I want to say here is that you can actually reach out to load boards. Actually, okay. Basically, when you go to a load board, you have the possibility to even choose carriers based on ratings, reviews, and history. You can perform unlimited truck, lane, and load searches. So that's kind of cool. And you also have the possibility to have a faster carrier onboarding. Okay. And on a load board, you also have extra tools such as negotiation tools and also compatibility tools. Okay. And you can also go in the analytics of a load board to see what's really happening, what has been forecasted, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, you want to find shipper and carrier clients. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is that when I say actually, before I was talking about, going to load boards, okay, to find shipper and carrier clients. Now I want you to really find carrier clients without a load board, okay. So it's you want to really understand that it's all about reaching out to the local community, for instance, actually reaching out to also networking groups in your area to see what's possible, because the more you network, the better it is for you, right? That's an important element to really think about. And also, you have to really understand that your success as a freight broker will depend on the strength of your relationships. Because see, a relationship is not just for a one-time transaction. It is for an ongoing transaction. It is actually for your ability to make things happen faster, to really understand what's really happening and what's not happening. Okay. And this is an important element to really think about. And one thing I also want to mention here is that if you want to really make more money as a freight broker, you want to really also maybe run ads. If you have the resources, run ads on social media, for instance. You can run Facebook ads or Instagram ads. Let's just say Meta ads, okay? Or you can, because reaching clients, like getting clients organically, may take more time. But if you have a properly structured sales funnel, you can actually get the word out about your freight broker business. And that's where clients will start coming to you. Okay, so that's important to think about if you have the resources, though, because running ads, if you want to really make an impact, depending on your niche, you want to go at least $30 to $50 or even $100 a day in ads. So, in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about how to become a freight broker. I gave you the overview and then the steps, the 12 steps you need to really follow to become a freight broker. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.